Good afternoon and welcome to the Juice Radio and Talk Show on today with Miss Regina Ogborn. This is Pastor Tawana Grant, and we are so excited for you to join us today for our Money Monday, where we continue with our lunchtime learning. On today, we're going to be talking about bankruptcy and chapter 7. Next week, we'll be talking about chapter 13. But today, get ready. We're going to be giving you some basic information about chapter 7 and applying that information to where you might be in your financial management or financial planning decisioning area, and just providing you with the information context so that you can make a wise decision on today. And so again, this is the Juice Radio and Talk Show, and we are live and on the air. I'm going to ask Tyrone to go ahead and share our intro. Welcome on today.
Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. 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 Reality TV's church reviews. Let's talk happy love and marriage lifestyle. Come and talk with us. Come and share with us. Come and laugh with us. Come on and pray with us.
Regina Clovis, special guest. You should be following your lead. Bless. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on podcasts. We live on IG and Facebook. This episode is sponsored by Truth and Triumph Ministries.
Welcome again to the Juice Radio and Talk Show. It is Money Monday, and we're talking about our money health on today. So we encourage you to continue to subscribe, hit that bell, let others know that you are gaining this information, and give them an opportunity to join us as well. We thank each and every one of you who are joining us on today as our co-hosts. We encourage you to add your commentary or your quotes or questions or your greetings into the chat so that we can welcome you as part of our co-host for today's show. Now, again, today we are talking about bankruptcy, and we're looking at chapter 7. So over the last course of our series, we've talked about the basics on building a plan, getting your budget together. We've talked about enabling our savings and understanding our expenses. We've talked about our financial credit scores and how those work in the categories and how we can leverage that information to let them grow and to improve in areas we've all experienced an opportunity there. And so today we started last week a little bit talking about bankruptcy and what may often lead us to making those kind of choices, some of the things that we can do in preparation for it, just preparing our mind, right? Because our intention is that the information we're sharing is going to help us grow in every area of our lives. God is concerned about all of our matters. And so today we're going to be talking about from a basic understanding of chapter 7. So again, welcome to our Money Monday financial series, where this is our lunchtime learning. So grab your lunch and join us and engage. So from just a basic background and understanding chapter 7, again, it is one of the most common types of bankruptcy. So there's chapter 7 and there's also chapter 13. In chapter 7, if you as a debtor, myself as a debtor, has assets that are not protected by certain exemptions allowed, a court will appoint a trustee, and this trustee will assist in selling off our assets. So again, you normally select a chapter 7 because this is an opportunity to remove all debt, unlike a chapter 13, which we'll talk about next week, which goes more so into creating a repayment plan and what can you pay and what does that look like working again through the courts. So again, and most often on a chapter 7, this is for a liquidation. We want to remove all debts, and we want to allow the court to understand what our assets are. You'll be asked to bring all of that to the table. One thing about going into bankruptcy, and some of the persons I've had conversation with who've gone through this particular experience, was just the fact of putting all of the information together and then having to be so transparent with the courts. But again, this is an instrument that we talked about last week to leverage for restructuring. This is not an identification of failure. This is an identification where you are taking ownership, where you take power to now restructure your financial management. And so again, with the Chapter 7, they're going to be looking at all of your assets. What do you have available where they might use as a leverage to pay off creditors? And so they will take an opportunity, trustees from the court who are assigned to your case, they will establish it. They'll place it under a certain codes with your creditors. Again, this is a opportunity to stop some of that calls or some of the engagement that you have from individual creditors, and then to pull them under the management of the court. So again, in exchange for this, the debtors will discharge, they will release, they will no longer hold you liable for most of the debts. So again, 99% of most of the individual bankruptcy cases, the trustee closes the case without selling anything that belongs to the debtor. So again, this is information we'll find by our bankruptcy brief, legal information that you will find online, readily available to anyone. So again, we want to make our decisions from a place of knowledge and not a place of fear, not a place of anxiety. We want to encourage you so that when you have this information, you can really think it through. Is this in my best interest? And again, in many cases, based on the bankruptcy brief, most debtors do not require that you sell off all of your things. So again, we want to talk about that. So who can actually file for Chapter 7? Normally, when you are an individual who are looking to file for Chapter 7, is determined by the means test. What are your means to repay? Means your ability to gain fund, ability for income, and to repay. And when you go to the courts and you go through the process of establishing a case to go forward with a bankruptcy Chapter 7, you'll have your trustee, but they will be assisting you through this process. Again, it talks about your means test to see if you have the ability to pay back according to the bankruptcy code. So there are codes, and therefore there are requirements you must meet in order to go through this particular process. So again, if you're a high earner, if you have high means, you are likely not going to qualify for a Chapter 7. You're likely going to qualify for Chapter 13, meaning they're going to assist us in creating a repayment plan, right? With some help of the experienced bankruptcy lawyers, most people who want to file Chapter 7 can do so. So again, oftentimes when you're a high earner, it's often difficult to file a Chapter 7, but it's definitely feasible. Chapter 7 is also the generally simplest form of bankruptcy and is available. You've seen this before online, so it's not just for individuals, it's for couples and for corporations, it's for partnerships. So this particular instrument is leveled and leveraged by many. Again, depending on your desire to restructure what works best. Okay, so some of the things, and I think this is good when you think about how do you decide, is this what I want to do, right? And again, I'm leveraging some great information from the bankruptcy brief, who really go into detail about what bankruptcy is and helps us in making this kind of crucial decision, because again, this impacts our credit. And so what it talks about, deciding to file for bankruptcy can be a difficult decision. We talked about that last week. Even getting to that place where we want to decide, I need to take this matter of a restructuring to the next level. We talked about how we can balance our balance sheet, how we can set our budget, how we can start to draw down on our debt, how we can start to create those payment plans, how we can go about getting more increase of income. We talked about those different sources that you can leverage and use. But when we've exhausted a lot of those and we look now that this is the next level of restructuring that we would want to consider, it says here that most decisions that we all have in a financial perspective is we're normally fight or flee, right? We're trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to fight through this. I'm going to stay on my budget. I'm going to make sure I make these payments on time, because again, you're making an agreement with yourself when you're doing it self-budgeted, right? You're making an agreement with yourself. I'm going to be diligent in this. I'm going to make sure I commit and I am paying forward on it, right? I'm doing what I need to do to ensure that this information and these payments are provided back to our lender as we should, back to our lender as we agreed to, back to our lender as we have that set up structure with them. And so in many cases, when we do that, we're doing that for ourselves and we're doing it with ourselves. And so we have to have a lot of self-management. We have to decide that this is important enough for me to stick with it. And so we encourage you, stick with it. But when you go to decide that I'm going to do bankruptcy, which of course is, again, another alternative, you have to make sure that you're ready for that kind of step, right? We're ready. We're going to move to that next phase. So again, for chapter 7, you want to talk about what can you include. So for bankruptcy of chapter 7, you want to explore some alternatives. Of course, we talked about it. What is realistic? But it may be that we need to go to this, right? And so, and you want to look at how we can avoid going to this stage. But when we get to this point, we have to make the decision. We have to look at everything across the board, right? So we're talking about, this won't be where we're paying on it. This is a chapter 7 where we're looking at liquidating what we have available to pay them out. So again, one of the things you think retirement savings is off limits, right? So that is not something that would be considered. It would come up under this. Talk about the debt settlement. So when you go out, you're going to look at your means test. Do I have any other means of paying this without going through this particular process? But if you don't, this is where you need to look at the debt settlement, right? What all debts do I have? What do I have to pay off? What other things that I want to consider before I make this kind of major decision to my finances? So one of the things you want to look at is the experienced bankruptcy lawyers. They have a lot of resources. So again, when you're thinking about it, we want to make sure you're getting knowledgeable, skilled professionals who can help walk you through this process, right? A lot of times you're going to look at all of your debts. We talked about before, don't hide anything. This is time. If you're going to do a chapter 7, this is time to bring everything in. Don't hide anything. You want to make sure that you provide transparency. We're looking at not just your larger debt, but your smaller debt as well. So bringing everything to the table. When you're thinking about it, you think about your age, you think about what is this going to do to some of your short-term goals, right? We talked about how a bankruptcy, for at least for chapter 7, is often on your credit for 10 years. So you need to take that into account. You need to take into account your smaller cash reserves, right? Because you won't have access to a lot of those instruments that you might have leveraged before. Some of those cards that you might have went to before, and you might have gone over there and gotten information. Well, now you won't be able to leverage that. So you got to make sure that you are ready, that you understand that this is the decision I'm making, right? And so we want to talk about that liquidation. So for chapter 7, when we look at a liquidation, they're looking to discharge of the debts that you owe to your creditors. So it is available to individuals who cannot make your regular monthly payments toward your debts. And so when you're choosing this, you're choosing to terminate and provide relief to your lenders. You're choosing to liquidate and provide debt relief to your lenders. Hey there, Joseph. Thanks for joining us today. I love what you said there, Joseph. So let's just say hello like we normally do to our guests who's joining us. Bankruptcy is not an acknowledgement of failure. It's a decision to win big. You have to be strategic, but use it as a springboard to financial greatness, not a trap to continue poor cycles. I love that, Joseph, because that is so correct. You now have power. When you make that kind of decision that I am going to go through the process of declaring bankruptcy, I'm going to restructure my finances. I'm going to put it in a better financial state so that I can have a better management of what's happening. You are deciding to move forward. You're not just letting things linger, letting your past hang out there. You're deciding, I'm going to take the power and take the reins, right? And I'm taking control. And I love what Joseph said. This is a strategic move. All right. This is not something that you do haphazardly. This is something that you make a commitment to go forward with, and you have the support to do so. And then I love what Joseph said at the end of that. This is not an opportunity to wash the board and then continue with those same habits. Oh, no. Oh, no, no. This is our time to complete out our restructuring, our strategic plan, to refine our financial management, and then have a new mindset. And one of the things that we can appreciate in going through this process is that the bankruptcy court not only provides you with a person who's walking through the process, they also provide you with credit counseling. All right, they're also providing you with credit counseling, and I see that will be definitely something all of us need to take advantage of. Think about it. You're doing this now. You're participating in Money Monday. Why? Because with information, we get wisdom. With this information, we can make better decisions. We can make more confident decisions. We can stand from that posture when we consider this. And so again, it is not a sign of failure. It is now your sign of power. You have power now. So when
I love that so much, Pastor Grant. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much for all of you who are viewing. I'm in the car. Pastor Grant is doing a wonderful job with this financial series on our Money Monday. I appreciate her so very much. You guys get this information about bankruptcy, share it with others. There's so much knowledge in this. She's going to continue to share. I am in the car, but I'm here with you. I'm here with you, and I'm loving the comments. Y'all put your questions in the comments, and let's continue to share. I love, Pastor Grant, that you said your means to pay. People have to understand bankruptcy is not just something that you want to do for one credit card. You know?
Correct. Yeah, this is where you want to look at everything. This is time to bring everything in so that you can restructure all of your finances. Because again, if you only fix one thing and you still have all these other problems, you're still basically in the same shape. And a lot of times when they review what you owe, I've had a person too who I know wanted to file for Chapter 7, but they said you don't even have enough debt to apply for Chapter 7. What we recommend to you is to get on a financial repayment plan. And so that will help them by strengthening them to have the right support they need to just go through the process. Sometimes, Regina, we want to jump out of the process. We want to eliminate all the pain. We want to be able to just go to the other side. And I know personally, but then there are times when you reevaluate, when you look at everything and you come to the consensus that I can do this another way, right? I can do this another way. But when I do get to bankruptcy, I want to bring everything in so then I can definitely clear the debt and then change my behavior so I don't find myself here again. I love what Joseph said. Although on your credit for 10 years, I have seen more than 60 people rebuild their credit to 700 within 25 months after discharge, which is great. Yes. And so I have known people who have gone through a bankruptcy and then later within the 10 years able to move on financially. We talked about before, there's some things that you can leverage to start rebuilding your credit. But we have to do so again from the right mindset and understand what money is for, right? So that you can rebuild and never find yourself back there again. And that's our intention. We want to rebuild and then enable ourselves to continue forward.
That's absolutely right. I love it. Let's continue, Pastor Grant. I am loving this information. And again, for those of you who are watching, share the channel, get more information on bankruptcy. But like she said, some of you may not need to file bankruptcy. You may need to just do a repayment plan. So this is why it's important to have these conversations, because some people may think, well, I'm just going to do a bankruptcy because that's the only thing I heard. But I love that you brought up the repayment plan process, because some people may not have to have that strike on their credit with the bankruptcy, and a repayment plan may work out just great. I love that. Thank you, Jeannie McCullum, for helping out too. Appreciate it. Let's continue, Pastor Grant. What other nuggets do you have for us?
Yeah, so again, when you are filing Chapter 7, remember that this is an official court process. And so that there's a office where you will have to file this at the courts. You're filing your official petition to be able to go through the process. All of the forms have to be completed. All of the forms, again, that requires you to completely disclose and be transparent in not only your debt, but also what you have in income. And in this whole process, right, there's portions of there where if you need assistance with the forms, the court can assist you, the trustee can assist you. There is information support available to you. Again, one of the commentary that I received from someone who had gone through bankruptcy is that it can seem daunting. When you look at the forms that you have to complete, when you look at the fact that I'm going to court and I'm having to go through this particular process, it can seem daunting, but you are not alone. Help is available to you. And so go through the process, understand to reach out. Again, we talked about it before, and many scenarios, we've seen our demographics, people of color, are less likely to ask for help than other demographics. And so we want to encourage you that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Again, it is a sign of taking power and understanding that I need enablement in this area, and that support is readily available to me. So again, you have to be filing. You have to file for Chapter 7. You have to give out all of the information concerning your assets and your debt. You have to have choices, again, about schedules, exemptions, and schedules. How do you go through that whole process? Having information about each debtor and each creditor. Again, you'll have to have all of that information available so that you can submit the information. And there are portions of this, again, when you're trustee, there may be some iterative processes where you're having dialogue and you're having discussions. Don't give up in the process. I really want to encourage that, because a lot of times people, because it seems tedious, it seems as if they're really into all of your information and want to know everything. I've had some people say they ask a lot of questions, but remember, this is a court proceeding and they're going to be operating on your behalf. And so whatever you share with them, they're using this information so that they can therefore make the best decision and help you as it relates to the creditors. And so have that mindset going in, that I'm going to be open. I'm going to recognize that this is for my good, that I'm going through this process. It's going to help me. And irregardless of how sometimes the information may not be readily available for you, it may take you a moment to get to it and make sure you submit it as it is requested. It may be an iterative process, some back and forth. Don't give up in the process. You'll have some meetings with your creditors. The debtor, you must appear, right? And there's a meeting. Normally, you are having it within the courtroom. My understanding, and you might can fill in on his, Regina, is that you're coming before the bench. You're coming before the court. I'm not aware of actual creditors being present other than some litigation support. Any commentary there?
Now, there are some creditors that will show up. There have been in the past where creditors do show up to challenge the bankruptcy, because they want their money, because what the bankruptcy is doing is it's wiping out that particular debt. So I have been to a bankruptcy court hearing. I have seen some creditors that were there and they challenged him. There's a story that's out right now. You all may want to look this up. Tawanda Braxton filed for a bankruptcy in December. I think it was December of 2022. And she included her landlord, her previous landlord, in that bankruptcy, where she owed him an it's in the thousands. I can't recall how much, but it was thousands and thousands of dollars. Wow. Well, that landlord challenged her bankruptcy, and he actually filed a petition to say that he was going against it, and he did not agree with it, and he filed a case against her and the bankruptcy, because he stated in his filing that allegedly she did not report her correct earnings, and she did not report her businesses, and she did not state in, well, these are alleges, his allegations toward her, that she stated in her bankruptcy that the home that she actually owned, she stated that the value was less. Well, what he did, he sent reports to the court that stated her numbers were incorrect. And I want to tell you all, look up the story. It's not, just my thought. It's not just, it's a real story. Tawanda Braxton had filed a bankruptcy and her case got dismissed. They canceled her bankruptcy. They did not allow her to proceed with her bankruptcy filing, and they informed her that they would not allow her to proceed and that she had to handle her debtors on her own, because this landlord stated that the information she gave was erroneous and he wanted his money.
That is so good. I love what you talked about while using that as an example, how key it is to make sure that the information you are placing on your documentation is correct and accurate. that is, I would be assured, one of the most immediate ways to have it denied is if it is petitioned that the information is incorrect, right? If you're, and especially when we're saying our earnings are not appropriate for what we actually earn, right? And so again, we want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to support that this is necessary. I did want to go back because Joseph had mentioned too, when you're filing down at the court, make sure that you evaluate if they have a fee for your filing, because there's also a fee waiver. So if that's another thing that you feel is keeping you from going forward with it, submitting your documentation to file, you can not only, if you had the fee to pay, then great, but if you don't, you can apply for a fee waiver. That is excellent information. And I think Joseph also had another comment he was referring to about working with the court. The courts are not your enemy. That's right. They're here to help you. And you're just using an instrument that was created to help you. This is to assist you in what you're doing. And so we should, again, leverage that for the opportunity that is made available. We have an opportunity to restructure, an opportunity to start over. But as Regina mentioned, there are times, and you have to be ready for this, going into the courtroom when you're having your conversations, that creditors may show up. There may be opportunities where they don't, but be ready, right? It may be something, especially where there is especially like a landlord. These are people who are, this is their money. This is not a corporation who can probably afford to write off thousands of dollars. This is normally a person, right? And so in those instances, we can oftentimes expect that they may have pushback, expect that they may not want it to go through that where it is cleared. Then welcome, Michael. Welcome.
Hey, Michael.
He says, Regina and Pastor Tawana, you have to take a pre and post internet course on debt management. He did it for chapter 13. I guess it's the same for chapter 7. Yes, that is excellent. I would recommend, again, we're encouraging everyone to get information, to be aware, because you don't want to make a decision about your finances and your financial narrative without being knowledgeable. You don't want to be led into doing something that's not necessary. Again, we talked about evaluating all of your debts and your income so that you can see even if bankruptcy should be an option. It is an option. Should it be an option for you to take? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
I also want to stress this. Thank you. And Joseph said that it is the same for both, Michael. Thank you so much. I also want to stress this, the importance of being honest when you are reporting your debt and honest when reporting your income. Because one of the other things that this story that I read regarding Tawanda stated that she was putting money into a business account and not stating that it was her income. It is not right for people to try to hide their assets when they are filing bankruptcy. Because remember, the term bankruptcy means broken bank. You are totally broken. There are no reserves. There's no hidden funds. Because when you get into not disclosing your funds and trying to say, okay, they in my mama account, they won't find it, or they in my friend's account, or they're in this corporation, all this kind of stuff happens. You are now committing bankruptcy fraud. And there are penalties and possible prison sentences for these type of things. We're going to be discussing that as well, bankruptcy fraud, because we want you to have full knowledge of this process. And that's another thing that happened with, unfortunately, with Tawana. This landlord went in. He found some corporations that she's putting money into. And unfortunately, this stuff happened. So I want you all to be honest in this whole process, the whole process for this, because you want to be able to go through bankruptcy, get out, and get back onto restoring your credit. You don't want to try and get into bankruptcy and do fraud and then have more problems after, greater than when you got into bankruptcy.
That is so true.
The goal is to clean up the credit. The goal is to clean up the credit and move forward to your bright future.
Yes. And what we talked about too is establishing those habits that will help us in the future. right? One of the things that talked about the trustee and having those initial conversations with them, they're going to ask you, how did you end up here? Right? They're going to ask you. They're going to ask you, how did you end up here? What caused you to make these kind of decisions? And then they're going to have you assigned to with counseling, right, to help you prevent you from having to come back through this process. One other thing I found was very key in understanding about this is that your tax refunds, right? Some of those as well can be part of the litigation. I know, again, when you were talking about not giving exposure or giving transparency to where we have sources of funds, that is also another source of funds that need to be declared and considered from your trustee. They're going to review all of that. And those things need to come under consideration, especially when you're saying, I don't have money and release me from a debt. When they find out you do have money and you owe them legitimately, then the expectation is they're going to get paid. And so we can't be upset. I think we said that before. We can't be mad about not getting something that we didn't work for. And so we can't be upset about people asking for a return of their funds when it's rightly due and we have the means to pay it. That's why we talked about you're going to do that means test. The trustee and assessor are going to take you through that process to understand exactly what type of means you have. Hello, Greta. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Greta. I also saw Condolia in the chat. Hey, Condolia.
Hello, Condolia. Welcome today. Thank you for joining us. And
yes,
so really,
yes.
Truly, there's a lot to it. Again, I appreciate Joseph mentioning about the online training for Chapter 7, understanding about your creditors, understanding what is exempt, understanding the requirements, understanding how do you have those type of dialogues with your creditors. And I love that you brought that up forward, Regina, about the fact that your creditors have the opportunity. They're going to receive this letter. It might be in your best advantage to have these conversations so that you are rightfully ready to move forward. Most of them are already calling anyway, right? Most of them are already calling. And they're trying to find out, are we going to get paid? What's happening? So if we're going to make, whether it's a 13 or a 7, we should be having that kind of dialogue so that everybody is on the same page and things will go much smoother. Things will go much better when we have that kind of purview in the conversations. Don't hide. We talked about that last week. You cannot fix what you won't face. You can't fix it. It's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. We might as well just stand up and bear our shoulders. Isn't that what they used to say? Bear your shoulders down and get ready to move forward. Because again, you're taking the power. Power isn't being stripped from you. You're now taking ownership.
That's right. That's right. Just square the shoulders up. Put on, stand up straight and tall, and face it head on. It's gonna help, but you got to do things the right way. I am a big advocate of honesty and truth. That is my thing, and this bankruptcy can be very successful if done the right way. I'm loving the information, Pastor Grant. Appreciate it. What other nuggets do you have for us?
So I'm going to go back a little bit back into what you were talking about when the example submitted. They had already had the conversations with the court. They're going through that affirmation portion with their creditors, and they're looking for the creditors to discharge, right? Discharge what I owe you. But the creditors and the trustees have 60 days from these meetings and conversations to challenge. And so that's what happened in this particular instance. They can challenge. They can say, we don't agree with this filing. We don't want you to proceed. And then the courts, of course, have an opportunity to review their submission and evaluate and make a decision. So unless an action to deny the debtor of a discharge is filed, the order will continue forward with discharging the debts by the court after that 60-day period for the discharge. So they have, again, those 60 days to review and to understand what is happening as part of the bankruptcy, what that means to them. Because again, not only are you impacted by filing a bankruptcy, so are your creditors, so are your debtors. They are impacted by this. So they have an opportunity to weigh in and to confirm their agreement. And again, as we mentioned, a lot of the larger corporations have some fiduciary areas where they can write it off and they can move forward. But there are others who might have questions and concerns about that. Again, individual debtors can get their discharge within 4 to 6 months of filing the case. So it doesn't take as long to get the debt discharged after when you go through that 60-day period where they have an opportunity to challenge. But then after the challenge period has expired, nothing has been challenged, the court is going to continue forward with a particular process. And then the discharges normally are filed and completed within that 4 to 6 months. Is that your experience and what you've seen too with people about 4 to 6 months, Regina?
Yes. Yes,
Okay, great.
I have. Yes. And I would say, when these things happen, and some of these creditors start calling you, or some of them actually they cannot contact you during a bankruptcy process. It states in the bankruptcy forms that some of them cannot contact you. The communication has to stop, but you can still contact the creditor and have conversations with them. But and the whole reason why I wanted to say that is just be kind during this whole process, especially when it comes to the landlords, the individuals, the people that are not the large corporations. Just be kind during the whole process. And again, honesty.
Yes, I love that, because again, if you're honest up front, you can have immediate feedback then, and without waiting until you're at the end, and then you have a lot of pushback, right? And you have a lot of contention because you weren't as forthcoming as we needed to be.
Right.
But if we are up front, then we can understand, we can have those conversations in the beginning so that we can move forward with the process. And so one of the last things I did want to talk about is after the discharge, after you've gone through the process, after you've worked with the trustee and worked with the creditors, and you've gone through that process and the discharge has gone through, you may have somebody who wants to challenge it, but be ready to provide your context and participate in that process. Don't just give up. Don't disappear. Continue forward to have the conversation and reach an amenable agreement. Reach a part where you can come to an agreement between both parties. I know that's what the trustee is going to be working toward, is to help you get to a mediation so that you can move forward. But after the discharge, you have to remember that not all debts are eliminated, right? Not everything is eliminated. Some of those things might include, if you have property tax and you owe it on the property, you still have to pay that. Family support, you got child support, you have other things. Those things are not eliminated. If you have your student loans are not eliminated. There are a lot of things that are exempted from a Chapter 7 that you will still be required to pay. You have a lien, right? And they're just some debts that are falling outside of the bankruptcy, and you will have awareness of those when you have those initial conversations with your trustee. So you'll be aware of that. So even though you're discharging, it will not always eliminate all debt. There's some things that you will still be responsible for, and you'll have to maintain that commitment. Otherwise, you can find yourself back again, right, having to revisit and restructure. So wanted to make sure that you're taking the power back, not just to go through the Chapter 7, but also the power that is necessary to own our financial health, our financial management, our narrative as it relates to our finances. And so those old instruments of budgets and saving and monitoring and managing, they all still work. Isn't that something? Those things just never go away. As long as you have income and you have expenses, these tools are valuable. And so we can always continue to leverage those. But just remember from that, the discharge of a Chapter 7, even though it is remediating a lot of debt, it does not remediate all. All.
And I'm glad you brought up the student loans, because a lot of people think that they can include their student loans on there, but they cannot.
Correct.
Your student loans are federally backed, especially if they're federally backed. They are going to stay because, listen, government want their money. They want They want their money. So a lot of people have been under the assumption that student loans can be included in a forbearance and in a bankruptcy. They cannot. However, you can do what's called a forbearance
Yes.
or a modification, and we'll speak about that on another program as well. Student loans and forbearance programs, those are out there as well. But student loans, no matter how great they are, no matter what the interest rate is, it cannot be included in a bankruptcy, neither a 7 nor a 13. It's not allowed. Also, debt relief. Before you get into this bankruptcy, consider talking with companies regarding debt relief. There are some debt relief companies that are out there. Make sure you do your research on them to make sure that they're legitimate, to make sure that you're dealing with a reputable company, and make sure that you do your best not to get scammed. Okay, you know how we talk on the Juice Radio and Talk Show. We don't want anybody getting scammed out here. So make sure that you do your research. But there are some companies out there that will offer debt relief. There debt relief assistance information to try and assist you with that. You want to contact them. One of them I will stay on is a nationaldebtrelief.com. They're a major company out here. They are trying to assist, but still do your research on it. Don't just say the Juice told me y'all were good. Do your research on them. But there are companies out there that will help with that information as well. But again, not everything can be included on the bankruptcy. The best thing to do is sit down with an attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, and go over the options. Go over the options that best works for you, because your case may not be the same as the next person's case. So sit down and have an honest, full conversation with these attorneys and find out what's going to work in your best interest for you going forward.
And I'll just mention, because we did talk about the student loans, don't forget, we had that great opportunity of the student loan forgiveness. And I had some people who was I don't feel like filling out the paperwork. These are opportunities we don't want to miss. Just like we're talking about bankruptcy. Go through the process. You never know, whether you're going to get on the end. And I'm so excited about so many that were able to receive the student loan forgiveness. And it just wiped it clean. And it was just wonderful. So again, some things are not easy. But if you want it bad enough, we have to press in. Make sure we follow the process. Make sure we're helpful. I love what Michael said before. The courts are not your enemies. This is a tool that we can leverage to help us take more control over our situation and to move forward to the future. We're thinking ahead. When we do something like this, we're not just thinking about right now. We're thinking about our future. And we're thinking about how we want to restructure so that we'll be ready for our next. I love the fact, too, that while you might find online a lot that says 10 years, right, in most instances before things are wiped off your credit, there's still opportunity, though, within that time period. People have rebuilt their credit, have worked in that particular area of instruments we talked about before, secure credit cards, building back up their savings, adhering to their budget, and they've come back out on the other side for new home ownership, right, and new cars. And so this is not the end. This is the beginning of your next. And so we want to encourage you to think about it from that posture and from that lens and from that perspective. This is not the end. I am working on my next.
Yes, it is. And also, again, remember to keep your heads held high. Don't feel bad about the process. There's a lot of people that go that I have had spoken with, and they were very upset and sad and depressed and embarrassed that they had to file for a bankruptcy. This is not a time to be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. These are opportunities. Thank you, Holy Spirit. These are opportunities that are available to people to get them back on a better track. There is no embarrassment in that. So, don't feel bad about the process. Don't get depressed over it. Don't get saddened about it. Take the opportunity. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Take the opportunity, use it for what you need, and then share the information with others. Be proud that there's an opportunity available in the United States of America that will allow you the comfort of getting out of the debt. Every country does not have it. So America has that opportunity because I believe, we want to be able to help one another because we all make mistakes. We all go through stuff. So it's not something to be embarrassed about. It's not something to feel sad about, depressed about. It is something to be able to rejoice and say, I'm grateful that I live in a country that has the options available to me to be able to help get myself back on track. It's a good thing.
Yes,
It's
it
not
is a good thing, right? And we said you're going through that whole assessment to determine that this is the best approach, just like we do with any other decisions, right? We weigh and we do a balance, check and balance. We weigh it out and we evaluate and we say, okay, this is the best approach for me, and this is the next best step. And so with that, sometimes chapter 7 is it. Which is just a write-off of the debt. And so we've talked about that. Next week, we're going to talk about chapter 13, which is more of a restructuring, a repayment plan. So this is where you're not wiping or clearing all debt. You're scheduling. We're doing more of a consolidation through the courts so that it stops the litigation from the individual creditors and it puts it under one management, and you're able to facilitate that a little bit easier than it is with handling them one-on-one. And so chapter 13 helps you to maintain levels of credit without the total wipeout that we would do with a chapter 7. This one gives you some restructuring. Again, having conversations with a file. You still have to file. You still have to have conversations with the creditor. You still have to do a lot of those same transparency and giving information. All of that is still going to be necessary, but this is another way of restructuring and getting back on course with our financial management.
Yes. I'm so loving the information on these Money Monday series, financial series, because Pastor Grant, I believe that restructure is for this year. Restructure, rejuvenation, renovation, all of that stuff is good for this year. And I'm enjoying these messages that you're sharing with us because it's time for us as a community to start sharing financial wealth information. It is obtainable to all. Some people may think, that they can't because they're looking at, these billionaires and stuff like that. And they think, oh, I could never do that. But you can if you start out with these simple tools now. Simple. Listen, there's nothing too high for anybody to do, nothing too great for anybody to do. Dream big is a sign that I saw on a tractor trailer one day, and I stood there and stared at that sign for about 5 minutes because I wanted it to sink in.
Yes.
There is nothing too big. And just because you're going through a credit situation right now, a bankruptcy situation right now, a low income situation, or no money situation right now, does not mean that that's your future. Maybe your right now, but is not going to always be your future. Take these tips and tools and get yourself back out there, and you could be the next billionaire. Get your mind together and get these tools and information and share it. There's a lot of billionaires out there that went through troubles just like this.
Yes.
Bankrupt. If you read the story of the owners of Home Depot, they filed bankruptcy, I think 4 or 5 times allegedly, according to the story I read. Yes. So they're a huge company now. So people, opportunities are there. Let's go ahead and get our money together. Let's continue our Lunch and Learn series. Let's continue these wonderful Money Monday series. Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
Aaron.
Thank you. Here. Pastor Grant, I love this. I also would love, Pastor Grant, if you have a moment to share. You have a community event that's coming up soon. Would you like to share that on the platform today?
Most definitely. So again, I am pleased and honored to be part of the pastoral ministry at My Father's House Pentecostal Church. We're located at 567 Valley Hill Road in the beautiful city of Riverdale, Georgia. And we are sharing again with our community. We believe in being a church outside of our 4 walls. And so we're extending our hand of love to our community on Saturday, May the 27th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. And during this time of community love and caring, we're going to be giving away boxes of food for free. We're going to be giving away clothing and shoes for free. we're also going to be giving away personal care bags. And so we encourage you and solicit your prayers as we support our community and let them see the hands of love extended. And so we encourage you to come out and just share in that day. If you have a helping hand, we always say in our ministry, many willing hands make work light. And so if you have a heart to share and a heart to serve in the community, we encourage you because we are excited about God and what he's doing in this season through my Father's house. So this is not anything new for us, but this year we're doing it even better. I think last year we did over 50 families. This year we're looking to service 100 families. And so we're just excited that we are postured and in a position to be able to do this in such a grand way. And we want to thank all of our partners who are also joining in on this event again on Saturday, May the 27th at 10 a.m. We have the wonderful Juice Radio and talk show. We just thank God for you all, Regina, being a part of this experience. They're going to be out there with us. We have, of course, Staying World Ministries, My Father's House, and Truest. So we are appreciative, as well as our Golden Girls who will be there as well. So thank you so much for everyone who is joining in this event to be a collaborative community outpouring of love. So thank you so much. We're excited about that, and we look to see you there.
Yes, absolutely. You guys get connected to Pastor Grant. Their church ministry is on fire for God, but they're doing things in a way that they're going outside those walls. Yes. Let me tell you, it's not just about what they're doing as far as the church ministry. They're doing a wonderful job at that too, but they are also out here serving the community. That's what disciples of God are supposed to do. And they're doing it right. And so you guys make sure that you go over there and share her information, share the church, My Father's House Pentecostal Church in Riverdale, Georgia. Y'all, she streams online as well on Facebook as well. Their services, 11:30 Sunday services. They're doing wonderful works out there. They're also looking for volunteers to help pass out flyers. I believe that's this Saturday.
That is this Saturday. Yes, it is. You can meet us at the church at 10 a.m. I believe it is 10 a.m. Meet us at the church, and we'll be distributing out flyers, just encouraging our community again that there is help and strength right here available to you. And I will mention, while I have another moment, that we give food pantry every Wednesday and Sunday. And so we're so excited. Pastor Harris, Melvin Harris, is over the outreach ministry, and we appreciate him and all that he does. And so again, we are here as a source of strength and help. If you are aware of anyone who is in need, on Wednesdays and Sundays, we are there, extending the hand of love.
That's right. Now, you guys, there are people out there that are in need. They don't know where to go. They don't know where their next meal is going to come from. Share this video with them. Share My Father's Pentecostal Church, My Father's House Pentecostal Church. Share the information, because they are literally feeding people. They're feeding them great food. It's not, junk. It's real good food. It's really good stuff, you guys. I had to keep my husband out the pantry. I said, stay out the pantry now.
That's right. We have our days. We have milk and eggs and cereal. Yeah. So again, bread all the time. So we just encourage you again that there is love extended toward you, and we are available as stewards unto the Lord. So thank you.
That's right. That's right. They're doing wonderful work. So you guys make sure y'all go over there and support a ministry that's supporting the community. You will see where your money and your time is going to with My Father's House Pentecostal Church in Riverdale, Georgia. Pastor Grant, this has been so wonderful. I want to thank everybody who is in the chat today, Aaron, Michael, and Joseph, and everybody else. If I missed anybody, Okandalia, Greta, thank you so much for being here as well. Joseph, thank you also for being here. I want to also give a great big thank you to TD McCullum, Tyrone. I called him 30 before the show started. He said, Regina, I got you. I'm there. I appreciate you so very much. Didn't have to do that. But to be able to call on people and they, without a doubt, just jump right in and say, I got you. I love it. So thank you, everybody. And just y'all appreciate TD McCullum. Thank you, TD McCullum, for what you did today. Y'all download his songs as well. Groove With Me, Drunk on Love. They're streaming on social media everywhere. You'll see it in the exit video we're going to do right now. But y'all show him some love and support for him being here today. And y'all go ahead and download his music today in love and support of what he did on the channel today. Thank you so very much. Pastor Grant, it's been a huge pleasure having you on here again. Listen, I'm so excited about things that we have coming up on the channel, these soon to come programs that we have coming up here. I get so excited about it. And I have to tell you this, Pastor Grant, every time I look at my stock on Amazon, I think of you. And I'm so grateful that you about that. The moment you told me about that stock, I purchased.
All right, that's it.
And that's what Money Mondays are about.
Right? Yeah, I always say buy what you use, right? And so you know that there's a desire for that and a demand. Yes,
and I got that information and tip by watching our Money Monday series right here on the Juice Radio and Talk.
And I think a reminder out there for you have today. I think you have a talk this evening.
Yes, I do. Actually, we're going to be doing some motivation today. Motivation, and I think it's at 2:00 today. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship today. So we're going to get on. Yes, get some information out there. Appreciate you all for being here. Thank you, TD, for being here. We're going to go ahead and go. Pastor Grant, do you have any closing words before we get out of here?
I just want to encourage you today that every day is a new day. So treat it as a new day with new thoughts, right? And a new heart and new mind. And so new strength. And so I encourage you to move forward into the new things that you desire. But again, actions without words rather without actions is dead. So we encourage you to do something about it, right? So take this information that we shared today. If it's not applicable to you, share it with someone else so that they can win through the word. Thank you so much for today's session.
Amen. Thank y'all so much. And y'all have a blessed day. We're getting ready to get out of here. TD McCullum, if you could go ahead and put up our closeout video, I'd appreciate that. Y'all have a blessed day today. And thank you for tuning in to the Juice Radio and Talk Show. Bye.
Do you enjoy smooth jazz saxophone? TD McCullum has 2 singles available with more to come. The first is an original song called Groove With Me, featuring the classic sounds of Washington, D.C. go-go and his smooth jazz saxophone. The second is called Drunk on Love, a smooth jazz saxophone cover of Rihanna's Drunk on Love from her 2011 Talk That Talk album. Both are available on all major streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube Music, and more. Add them to your favorite library and playlist today. And follow Tyrone on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Mr. TD McCullum for your music and bookings. JoJo Speaks is a YouTube channel that goes live every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. with hot topics and social commentary. Come join the Light of the Leo, Mr. TD McCullum, and our good friend Mike, Mr. Real 121, for fun and JoJo's unique spin on today's top stories. Go to YouTube, subscribe, like, share, and comment. If you are struggling to figure out who you are and where you're heading, but need a little light to bring you back on track, subscribe to the Light of the Leo for some healing and real conversation. Here is where you will find encouragement and the reminder that you are not alone. Continue your journey to freely be yourself at all times with the Light of the Leo. She goes live Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with her co-host, accountability partner, and little bro, JoJo Speaks. Join Faithful Warrior Ministries for our family and friends Saturday morning prayer. Every Saturday morning at 10-ish a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a great time catching up, sharing testimonies, and having transparent, real conversations about life. We encourage each other and show how we can fit God into each equation of our lives. Enjoy a devotional reading and family prayer. You have a prayer family with Faithful Warrior Ministries. Subscribe on YouTube at Faithful Warrior Ministries, and on Facebook, like us at Faithful Warrior Men. That's M-I-N as in Ministries. Join Pastor Lorenzo Evans and Living in Grace Ministries. The messages are not social media driven. They teach what's true and not what's popular. Living in Grace Ministries goes live every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube to Living in Grace Ministries and click on the notification bell. Pastor Lorenzo also has It Takes a Village podcast on the first and third Saturday of each month, pushing to bring back the village concept. We are more powerful when we are united. Together we stand, and division is not an option. A heartfelt thank you to all of our subscribers who joined us for this video. If you have not already subscribed, go to our YouTube channel, The Juice Radio and Talk Show. Subscribe and click on the notification bell to be alerted whenever we go live. Join our private Juice community. Go to www.thejuicecommunity.com and sign up for free. Follow us on our podcast channel, The Juice Radio and Talk Show Podcast, streaming on all podcast platforms. A great big thank you to our podcast production company, Noye Podcast Productions. They can help you create your own podcast also. Contact them today at houseofnoye.com. Thank you to our sponsor, Custom Apparel Shop. Have them complete your embroidery work and silk screening needs. Do you need a logo created for your fashion apparel or company? Contact Israel Mason today. That is 786-657-7501. Thank you to our main sponsor, Truth and Triumph Ministries. Truth and Triumph Ministries, a ministry that cares about telling people the truth so they can triumph in life. Thank you, Truth and Triumph Ministries, for all you do.